Welcome to the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. You are now part of a small underground movement of dent technicians from all over the world. We are on a mission to change our industry with innovation, intelligence, and skill. But because we don't rely on an insurance company to steer customers our way, we need to do things different. We need to do things smarter. We do that through a network of technicians that we call the Tactical Tech Movement. Now let's get this revolution started. Hey, what's happening, all you tactical techs out there? Here with another episode of the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. And I don't know if I would consider this a follow-up from my last podcast, but I definitely consider this kind of along the same lines of thinking. And I'll just give you guys a brief history of myself, right? So as a youth, I grew up in an environment where basically you had to fight your way to the top. Like either you dealt with, either you got smashed or crushed by people around you, or you had to fight your way all the way to the top. So I grew up in this environment where, it was either you were being attacked by like a group of guys, or you ganged with a group of guys, your own crew, your own posse, and you actually did that to protect yourself. I mean, I remember like walking through town, there were certain areas you just knew you couldn't go because you were going to run into a group of dudes who kind of controlled that little sector, that neighborhood per se, and if you ran into them, you were definitely going to get beat up by all of them at the same time. So I grew up and I had to develop this intense rage inside of myself. And it was not so good back then because it wasn't tamed. I mean, anything at all could cause me to fly off the handle, punch a hole through a wall, fight somebody at the drop of a dime. In my youth, I've probably been in well over 100 fist fights on the street. I've been in larger fights where, there was multiple people. I've been in fights where weapons were used. I've been hit in the head with a crowbar. Been taken to the hospital with a hole through my lip where some dude happened to get the best of me, and I was rolled off in an ambulance. I've sent people off in an ambulance, and that's the kind of environment that I grew up in. So in that environment, it's kind of like living in the jungle. You know what I mean? It's like dog eat dog. And it took me a long time to change myself, okay? And part of that was having a child, getting married. But at that time, I still wasn't fully changed. I mean, I grew up my whole life fighting and trying to make sure that I wasn't being beat up on a regular basis, or even worse, being jumped by a gang of kids. And that carried on into my early, adult life. And at some point, all of us, I think we have that. I mean, it's not exactly what perhaps that I went through as a child or a youth, right? But all of us have this thing where as a youth, we have this rage inside of us, something that appears. And I mean, sometimes we're at our greatest, right? So sometimes we're at the top of the mountain because of this fearless attitude that we have, that nothing's going to stop us. And then we get married, we have kids. We begin to grow up. So we go into what I like to call like a second stage of manhood. And I kind of feel like that second stage, we're just like taught to suppress this emotion that once as an adolescent was totally out of control, right? So that's the natural response. Like, I've got this, this rage, this hostility inside of me, this feeling that I need adventure in my life, this feeling that, I basically that I want freedom. I've got this feeling of freedom that boils up into my heart, and now I've got to suppress that because, I have kids, I've got a wife, I got a girlfriend, I'm growing up. I mean, whatever your situation is, you feel at some point as an adult, I'd say probably, and that starts to happen, I think that transition probably starts to happen in your mid-20s, and by the time you're 30, you've probably like 100% tamed that lion that was once within you. Now, sometimes there's a problem with that. I'll kind of explain it. So if any of you guys have been reading my Facebook wall, I've just been on this like 100% mission to kind of release men from their limitations. And I'm doing that by, in a sense, looking back at the limitations that I created for myself. And I'm also looking at how I've been able to break through them limitations. And I'm trying to teach other people that, or at least show them that I'm doing this, and that subconsciously gives them the permission to break these limitations as well. So a lot of times we, as men, we've been taught to push down that emotion inside of us, that emotion of rage, all right? That emotion that, that was once part of our youth. We've been taught to just stuff it away, I think that's the second stage of man. That's like our second stage of manhood. And unfortunately, I would go to say that perhaps 95% of people will never leave that second stage of manhood. They'll never leave it. And the biggest problem is with that, I feel, is that we'll go on from day to day. We'll smile. We'll tell people like everything's good and everything's great. But deep down within us, we know that there's something that we're, there's like this volcano of energy inside of us men, and we're telling ourselves that, you keep it down, keep it away, don't come back. I don't want to go back to my youth. I don't want to go back to when I was untamed. I don't want to go back to when I had this, this mission inside of me, when I was pretty much a freight train of kick ass. I was a freight train kicking ass and taking names later. I don't want that to come back because I've been told it's bad. I'm here to tell you guys, when you go to the third stage, I'm going to call this like the third stage of man. When you reach this third stage, if you ever obtain it, it's going to be harnessing that energy that's inside of you and taking it and using it for your life mission, using it for good. I'm going to give you a quick example. Some of the most successful people that you follow out there, they'll say things like, man, I love my haters, right? Or they'll say haters that's fuel to me, okay? I don't care if your haters are your competition that's down the road, if your haters is like some dude online, running his mouth to you from a keyboard. You can take that feeling, that power, that rage that surges inside of you, that energy. You can take that energy and you can direct it towards progress in your life and in your life mission. Now, I'm going to say that again, okay? There's two paths right there, okay? Somebody enrages you inside, right? You're right? You feel this rage boiling up like, oh man, this just enrages me. You can do two things. You can spout back at them. It's like a lower level of man. You're going back to first level right there, the first level of man, your untamed lion, right? So you're literally reducing yourself down past the second level of man, and you're hitting the first level of man at that point. You're literally spouting back at them. You're reducing yourself down to their level. But I'm going to tell you what a third stage man does. A third stage man takes that rage and uses it to harness his life mission. A third stage man says, oh man, this is awesome. You all keep talking, all right? Keep talking, because this right here builds a ball of energy inside of me, inside of my soul, that's going to allow me to share my message, like literally share my message to the point to where I'm just pushing it to the whole world. I mean, you become relentless with sharing your message, sharing your life goals. You become relentless with filling the world with yourself, with your positivity. And man, I'm telling you guys, it's a beautiful thing. So I mean, and like I said, any of you guys who follow me on Facebook, go just punch in John Hiley, hit the follow button on my wall. You guys can see this coming out of me, right? You guys can see that I'm starting to, I'm really feeling this third stage, and it feels good, guys. I mean, it feels good. It feels like emotions that I've suppressed for years, I've actually figured out how to take them and harness them towards the good of my life mission. And I just want to tell you guys, I want to say that I appreciate you because all of you out there, you guys are part of my life mission. My life mission is a mission of servitude. My life mission is here to build the people that are around me. And until I realized in my heart that I had to let go of any selfish ambition, and I had to focus on serving and building the people that's around me, the people that listen to me, the people that are part of my world, until I focus on that first, my life mission would never be complete. So I want to say thank you to all of you guys who listen to this podcast, and hope you guys can get something out of this today. And I'm here to tell you, man, don't let them tell you that them feelings that you've been stuffing down all of these years, that they're wrong. And definitely don't go back to your first stage man. Don't battle on that level. Always take the higher ground. Be the big man, okay? Be the man that you were meant to be. And I know there's some women out there listening too, so look, y'all can apply this in your life too. I've seen some women do some amazing, amazing things. I'll personally give a shout out to Crystal because she's the one that can listen to this and she can take it to heart. And you guys all know Crystal and Dwayne, a couple of my students, they can take it to heart. And she can as well, and ride with it as well. So, anyhow, y'all, I appreciate you coming along for this podcast. And as usual, I'm going to see you on the next one.